Here's a step-by-step overview of everything you need to know about wholesaling in 2024. So if you're thinking about getting into the business or getting back into the business after a hiatus, or maybe you've done a few deals, but you want to ensure that you're doing deals consistently every month, then this is a must watch for you. What's going on, guys? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here. And in today's video, I'm sharing an excerpt from a recent group coaching call that will give you a checklist of activities to guarantee that you're getting deals every month. Now, this particular call is primarily aimed at beginning wholesalers. Students in this class have already been through some prerequisite videos and preliminary training. So basically, I'm reviewing the steps while providing supplementary information, exercises, the different factors involved that are often overlooked. A lot of people miss this. It's kind of explaining the reasons why two wholesalers can have the same plan of attack, and one will do deals and the other one won't. And so I'm going to show you what to do to make sure that you remain in that first group and that you aren't losing any money. And then we do a little bit of Q&A at the end. Now, this is an exclusive call that I host for my group coaching students each and every week. And if you'd like to attend, there's a link down in the description below for a free invite to the next call. I've also got some additional freebies in there, some free ebooks, mini courses. Let's see, my lead generation blueprint, and some other downloads. So check that out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this clip. Okay, so tonight, guys, the purpose is really make sure that you have clarity, that you know exactly what you should be doing, know what your metrics are, know what you should be doing on a daily basis, and then to make sure that you're actually doing them. For me, I kind of need to know where you guys are in that process. And so we're going to go over a little bit of a recap today, and then I'm going to add on to that as we go. But again, I'm going to keep stressing this. It might get annoying, all right? But I'm going to be that broken record in that the most important thing that you guys can do right now, you have access to Wholesaling with Mike University, you have the content, the education, but the best thing you can do and the biggest deficiency I see as a group, right, is the lack of questions. Now, Oscar and I were talking about this last night, actually, and you guys probably know this analogy that I'm like notorious for repeating over and over, but it's this. Weight loss is relatively simple, right? It really is. You burn more calories than you consume. So eat some more salads, eat a little better, get in the gym. And you can get that information pretty easily. You can go to YouTube and watch 1,000 videos on how to get six-pack abs. You can join a gym. You can download a grocery list. And look how many people are unsuccessful. It's like 70% of people in America are overweight. So many people struggle with it. Well, why is that? Well, it comes down to the implementation. And that's the analogy that I've always made for you guys, right? So it's not just the knowledge. There's a lot more that goes into this. And those people who have a trainer, a one-on-one trainer, or they work out with friends for different reasons, for knowledge, for accountability, they tend to have significantly better results, right? So my job here is essentially that of a personal trainer in that analogy. But then in talking to Oscar last night, we took it a level deeper. And what I wanted to kind of stress with him, and I want to stress to all of you guys, is that everyone who struggles with the weight loss, they struggle for different reasons. And a good trainer will seek to go layers and layers deeper. Why is that? Why? So if someone says, hey, man, I'm overweight, it's easy to say, okay, well, eat better, right? But you have to get to, and that's why I focus so much on things like your habits and your routines and your subconscious, because some people struggle because they're not morning people. They can't work out in the morning. Some people can't make the time. They're not creating a schedule where it's more or less inevitable. They're not putting those like practices in place, like having someone pick you up, having a gym partner. Some people lack the knowledge. It's a knowledge issue. They don't know the right workout, or they don't know their macros. So it's a knowledge issue. Some people, they are stressed. And so for them, they eat when they're stressed. So now it's an emotional problem. So everyone can still be dealing with different reasons why they're not accomplishing their goals, right? Or they can have that same struggle, but the reasons are different, right? And so when you're listening to me, watching Wholesaling with Mike University, going through YouTube videos, it may be a little bit general for you. And so the value here is coming in and letting me know, am I having trouble with my schedule? Is it a discipline issue? Is it a knowledge issue? I don't know what to do. Hey, I did this and the seller said X and I didn't know what to say. And this is the feedback I need from you guys. There's way too many times, right? I always tell you guys, I'm going to be blunt with you. This is the primary issue right as of right now. There are a couple times a week where I come into Facebook groups on wholesaling just to drop a little bit of value. And every time I go in there, within, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I'll see at least 10 really good questions. And that's, reminds me too, oh man, I remember when I went through that, right? And I can give targeted feedback that's really good for people, right? Not toot my own horn, right? But I know what I'm talking about. I'm a 12-year veteran in this game. And so I can come in and say, no, this is what you need to do. And guys, again, saying this as humbly as possible, I've worked with a lot of students from different backgrounds, right? I've been through this 12 years. I've seen a lot. I've started with no money. I started with my full-time job with very limited time. And I've also spent, thousands of dollars on marketing. So wherever you are, I can help you there, but I need to know, because otherwise I give you hundreds of tips. They might not be applicable to you, or we want to be following that Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. I want to help you focus on the 80% that's going to be the most effective in getting you your results. So today I'm going to, sometimes when I ask for things like, maybe a role play or participation, I get it, right? It's a little bit of a tough ask, or maybe, maybe you're driving or something, right? Or you're not comfortable participating. Tonight, I'm going to ask, I made it very easy. I'm going to have you drop a number, okay? And I really need 100% participation, okay? So I'm going to go through some of the questions in a bit. Josh, I see you typing there. But I want to start off with, let's start off with kind of the process, how I teach it. And then what I want to do from there is find the breakdown. Meaning, when you guys get to the action plan, some of you guys are in there, some of you guys haven't gotten there yet, and some of you guys are going to be watching on the replay, are not there quite yet, right? I got some newer people in the group. But the point of the action plan serves as for a lot of reasons, right? One of those reasons is a system of accountability, self-accountability. When you start tracking things, I guarantee you will automatically get better. Let's say, if someone wants to get in really good shape, back to my analogy I love here. If they don't know any, ideally, if you're a bodybuilder, you're tracking your macros, you're weighing your food on a food scale, you're writing out how many grams of protein, how many grams of carbs, how many grams of fats that you're eating every day. And that's going to make you better. But let's say, even if you don't know that information, if you just started documenting what you eat every day, you'd start to eat better. And so a part of it is doing that. Then we talk about, in the program, I talked to you guys, if you remember, the idea of not breaking the chain. Jerry Seinfeld, every day he wrote a joke, put an X on the calendar, that story. That will help you to improve your consistency and a means of keeping yourself accountable. But ultimately, what I'm looking for, and this is especially for my one-on-one guys, is for you to create a data set. When I have at least 30 days of data, even if it's zero, hey, I didn't do any offers today, that allows me to interpret what you're doing to create not only a story, but also to see the deficiencies in what you're doing. So most common problem I run into is a volume problem. When you're tracking your offers, most of you guys most people are struggling. They simply don't make enough offers every day. Let's say you are making the offers, you are reaching out. Based on your call conversion, I have these metrics, right? So I can tell you, hey, the skip tracing system you're using sucks. You're getting bad data. You're below average. Let's put you on this system instead. If I see you not getting offers accepted, it means you're not understanding the market, or you're not understanding your analysis. Because if you're coming from, let's say, North Carolina, let's say you were one of these people who are doing multiple states, not recommended, but especially for my beginners. But let's say you go to North Carolina, you're offering everything at 70%, you're getting deals. Then you come down here into Miami and you're offering at 70%, because that's what the formula says. You're not going to get anything accepted, because you don't understand that because there is a higher demand here, buyers are paying more. They're paying more than 70%. So you're getting outbid every time with wholesalers who are offering 75% ARV and 80% of ARV, but you don't have that information. But when I look at your data, I can tell you that. Okay, let's say you're getting offers accepted, but you can't sell them. Well, now your analysis is off. You're offering too high. and then we can go back and talk about those things. But it's only when I have that data and you bring it to me and you can look at it and manipulate it, can I really pinpoint the actual issue that you're having, right? So that's very, very important. You guys really need to be using that action plan. My recommendation is what I do when I'm doing calls, offers, what have you. I have a little notepad on my desk and I just use a tally system, right? So I don't have to be on the spreadsheet all day. Mark it up. And at the end of my day, I just put in the total numbers. Okay. It's a very good system. I recommend setting an alarm at 9 p.m. right? So you do your stuff all day, 9 p.m. alarm goes off so you don't forget. Oh, cool. I got to put my numbers in. Boom. It takes 30 seconds. And I'll tell you, the majority of people do not do this. And that's why a lot of people struggle. Okay. So let's talk about my kind of the way I break down the steps to this whole wholesaling thing, right? So the first step, you guys remember from the plan, most of you guys have been through this, is and I'm still getting better at writing on this computer. Oh, I forgot, I got to share this screen with you guys. Share screen, boop. Let me know in the chat that you guys can see that. Should be a little whiteboard up there. Is our planning phase, okay? And the reason this is so important is because the average person, remember, I started my YouTube channel maybe, 10 years ago or something like that. And, I'm in the communities. And so the biggest feedback or things I see is people find out about the business, they get excited about it, they go down the YouTube rabbit hole. Maybe they buy some courses, buy some books, whatever it is. And then one of two things happen. Most people get this analysis paralysis and they go weeks, months, and I've seen even years where they're like, I really know what I'm to understand this. I'm like, how many deals have you done? Well, none. So they are in such analysis paralysis, they don't get started. That's a whole different problem, right? We're probably not talking about that now, but if that's you, let me know. And then other people come in and they say, okay, man, I got all this information. I'm going to just start taking action. Now that's better than nothing. That's great. You should be taking action. But a lot of people just say, I'm going to take some action and something will work. I know 10 strategies. I'll try a little bit of all 10. Something's got to work. Throw everything to the wall. Something will stick. It never works. And I shouldn't say never, in the rare case where it does work, it's luck, right? We don't want luck. We want consistency. We want predictability. I remember the days, I do a deal, then next month I didn't do a deal, then I'm running out of money. It's like, oh shit, man. Like, is it going to work? Is it not? We want to make it predictable. Now, the way you do that is this has to be laser focused for my beginners. And I think everyone here are beginners. So you want to get laser focused on one strategy, one market. You don't want to be the all-you-can-eat buffet that has steaks and pasta and Indian food and Middle Eastern food. You don't want to start that way, man. You want to specialize, right? I'm the hottest steakhouse. My demographic are people who like a good steak. And then you can't mismatch it. You don't want to be advertising your steak restaurant to vegans. So that's a big part of it. But then it has to be personalized. It has to be customized to your specific situation, because I've had students come to me with a lot of money and no time. I have students who have a lot of time. They have no money. And when you see things like, hey, 30-day action plan, it's like, man, it's not universally applicable. Okay. It's going to be different for everybody. And that's why I have you guys go through the exercises with things like finding your target market and looking at all the numbers and ensuring that the demand is there. There's sufficient demand. You have an archetype of the types of properties you're looking for. You have an archetype of a specific buyer in mind. You know how many purchases are made by cash buyers. You know what price they're buying at. Some areas are better. Like where I live is Riviera Beach, kind of low income neighborhood. It's better for landlords who are maybe putting Section 8 tenants in there. They're not going in and fixing up these houses very nicely. They're going in, slapping some paint on there, putting in basic appliances and renting it to Section 8 tenants. When you're evaluating that type of property, you'll look at it a little bit differently. You're going to use, for example, the 1% rule or 100 times rent, which says, excuse me, you pay no more than 100 times 1 month's rent for a property. If you're in somewhere like Parkland, it's a lot nicer. People who are in those areas tend to be doing flips. They're going to go in, they're going to do high-end rehabs. They're going to put crown molding and stainless steel appliances and granite countertops and all that good stuff. So that's a part of knowing your market. That's step one in our planning phase. Then we have to look at how much time do you have available. It's different for everyone. That dictates what strategy you should be focused on. How much money do you have available, right? If you don't know your metrics, it's not going to work. So when I first started, right, I was doing direct mail. Back then, it would probably be about every like $500 I'd spend on direct mail, I'd get a deal, right? Which is great. But nowadays, that number is much higher. It's a lot closer to 2,000. So if you have the 2,000, spend it, right? You spend 2,000, obviously, you have to make sure you have the right list and you're doing your follow-up in the sequences that I show you in the program, right? But what happens is a lot of people don't necessarily know that particular metric. So they have $1,000. They say, I'll just do direct mail. They go do direct mail. They spend 1,000, but because they don't know that to make it predictable, you need 2,000. They spend 1,000, then they don't get a deal, and now they're back at zero. And that's when it becomes very cyclical, and you just get no results. You save some money, you spend it, you get no results. So that's why you have to know your budget. And that's why we do the scheduling exercise. We do the reverse scheduling exercise. We do the budget exercise, again, where we're looking at our budget, not as, when I ask people, how much can you spend? They say a couple $100. I don't know what that means, man. You have to say, okay, you have to go through your credit card statements, your bank statements. You have to look at it the way a mortgage company would look at you for a loan, right? Say, what could this person comfortably, realistically pay for 6 months? And if it's zero, it's zero. People ask me all the time, hey, how much do you need to do this? I said, no, I can work with wherever you are, but I'm going to meet you where you are, right? So quick example, if you have no money at all, you're going to be using a free list, right? It's inverse relationship between time and money. You're going to use a free list. Then you're going to pull every address. You're going to pop it into truepeoplesearch.com. Then you're going to look for that. Then you're going to call them. You're going to dial by hand. It's very slow. Then let's say you got a couple bucks to spend. Okay, now you can purchase this list. I'll show you which list to purchase, right? And there's list building exercises in our course. Okay, now you can purchase a list, but then you have to look it up on that website and you have to hand out. Okay, now I can spend an extra, $100, $200 a month. Okay, now you can get the list paid for instant. You can get you can pay for skip tracing, and then you dial by hand. Okay, now I got another $100 a month I can spend, or another $170 a month I can spend. Then you're gonna get the list purchase, then you'll get your skip tracing, then you can get a dialer system, triple line dialer, much, much faster, okay? Then let's say now I get another $200 that I can spend every week. Okay, now we buy the list, we get the skip tracing, we do the dialer system, and we have a VA calling, right? So it's not about how much you have, it's about how to allocate your funds the most efficiently and not skip to a strategy ahead if you're not quite there yet. So the planning phase needs to be very much personalized, right? So I'm just going to write under here, just as an example, your market, okay, your availability, and your budget. A couple other things in there. You guys have been through the action plan, you know that. And I'm going to put a big 1 over this, okay? All right, number 2. And the thing with planning, guys, it's very much like a lot of people that I said, just take action. That's good. I'm not trying to deter you from doing that. But it's kind of like building a house with no blueprint. Okay, go get all your materials. I got my 2x4s and my sheetrock and nails and stuff, and then you're just trying to put it together. Like, it doesn't make sense. You have to have the blueprint and have the plan, okay? And it has to be personalized to you. So after that, this kind of goes with planning, but I'm going to put it as a separate one. That's going to be your schedule and the metrics. And this is how we make it predictable, okay? So what that means is that we start with a goal, a defined goal, a number, right? And then based on that, you guys have in the coursework a cheat sheet. So based on step 1, the planning, that's going to tell you, okay, this is my strategy I want to go with. For some of you guys, it might be cold calling. For some of you guys, it's going to be on market deals. For some of you guys, it's going to be direct mail, whatever it is. And then we say, okay, well, my goal for this year is to make sure I want to make $120,000. Just to make the math easy. Okay. So what does that equal? That's about 10 grand a month. That's about 1 deal a month. What does it take to get a deal? Well, like I said, the direct mail, it's going to be about 2 grand. And obviously with the cheat sheet, and there's a disclaimer, there is that warming up period when you're first getting started, because as you guys know, most of your deals will come by way of follow-up. So we have to account for that. But then after that, if it's X amount of calls equal, granted that you have the right list, you've built the list the way that I show you guys, then okay, X amount of calls equals a deal. So then you divide that by how many days a week are you working? 5 days a week? For the sake of the math, divide by 30. That will give you your metrics for what you need to accomplish every single day, right? So now you know what you need to do. And then you make your reverse schedule, which tells you how much time you have. That's based on Parkinson's law. Again, however much time you give yourself to do a task is how much time it's going to fill. That's how we get ourselves efficient. And now when you look at a number like, hey, man, I got to make 100 calls, that sounds like so much. But when you break it down, okay, 100 calls in 10 days, it's 10 calls a day, right? So it's a lot more digestible, a lot easier to do. So now we have our schedule and metrics, and this is how we make it predictable. And if you're tracking on your action plan, your daily task, when you miss it, it highlights. I have that conditional formatting in there. So we'll highlight when you miss the mark, and then okay, I got to make that up. Okay. So that's how that works. That's your schedule and marketing too. Now, number 3 is prospecting. Your business will live and die by your ability to prospect. For you guys, this is the most important thing. This should be the senior activity that you are working on every day. Anytime you have a good month, and the thing is, it's just like weight loss, right? You don't go into the gym, do your workout, and then, I got a 6-pack today. You don't see the effects immediately. But anytime you have a good month, if you look back last 30 to 90 days, the actions you took at that time is what led to those results. You're having a bad month, you're not looking at deals, I guarantee you go back 30 to 90 days, the proof is right there, okay? Prospecting, huge one. I'm going to come back. I'm going to circle back to that in just a bit. But a part of that, and you know what? I'll separate it again. Some of these are very closely related. But with prospecting means you know how to find properties, right? It means you know how to build your list. It means you know what you're looking for. It means you have that archetype, and you know how to comp and analyze your property. Some of you guys are still struggling with this. And remember, I guess I'll get into this in just a bit, but you don't have to get it. I'll explain in a moment. A lot of people teach, hey, it has to be ARV times 70% minus repairs, minus profits, all that. And I'll just tell you now, basically, that is predicated on the idea that all cash buyers buy for the same reasons and with the same, goals in mind, same intentions. I have buyers who won't touch anything if they're not making, 50K on it. And I have buyers that'll take stuff where they can make a 20K profit, depends on time and things like that. But remember, some buyers, let's say you have 500 grand sitting in a bank account, cash. You buy differently than someone who's using hard money. They're paying for application fees, origination fees, 3-4 points, 14% interest. They have to analyze it differently. Then you have someone else who's buying for cash flow. They're going to hold this property for 50 years and give it to their kids. Then you have someone who's international. They don't really care. They just want secure U.S. real estate. They buy for different reasons. Then everyone analyzes, even though they tell you, hey, listen, the repairs are X amount. This is a very subjective matter. I've had buyers look at properties and say, hey, man, that's a 40K rehab. And I've had buyers look at properties and say, that's an 80K rehab. And it's their money, it's their risk, it's their standards. They're both right. So when you're making your offers, you have to kind of be in the ballpark. And I'll show you why in a second, why you don't have to get this perfectly. But that's a part of it, right? The comping and analysis. So that's the next stage that we get to. I'm going to label that as number 4. Okay. Then next, we have to be making offers. That's what we've been talking about a lot this month. And this is, as many KPIs as I've given you guys, and you guys have, this is the most important KPI. You can make tons of calls, you can make tons of inquiries until you are sending offers. And I define an offer as not a verbal offer, but the ones I'm asking you to track on that sheet. That means you have submitted a contract, right? You've submitted an offer. It's a firm offer that you sent. This is the most important KPI. If you guys are not seeing results, you're not making enough offers. And that's what's most common. So that's what we've been talking about this month. That's been the focus. And with the making of the offers, you guys have to understand it. The numbers are obviously important, but it's not just in the numbers, okay? There are times where I can submit an offer of 100K, someone else submit 100K, I get the contract. Why is that? Okay, there are times where people offer higher than me and I still get it. And it's not just the terms. This is where we get into the scripts that you guys need to be practicing. You need to be working with your accountability partners on this. And when you go through those calls, make them realistic. You have to have the objections. And we talked about when sellers say one thing, translating that into what's their real concern. If they're saying, hey, inspection period, I don't want to give you 7 days, 5 days. Well, what's the concern? Are they not sure you're serious? They think you're a scam. What can you say, right? What was the situation we had this week? I can't remember exactly what it was, but essentially we're translating what the seller was saying and their concerns that, hey, maybe you're not serious, or maybe you're going to scam me. And that's where you might want to say, oh yeah, well, listen, we closed with my title company. Here's their information. I'm not receiving any money. It's going directly to them. They've been in the business 20 plus years. Here's their information. And this is how you're going to get your offers accepted, which is kind of leading me to the next one. But making offers is where we've been spending most of our time this month. All right. So that kind of leads to the next piece, which is, I guess, getting your offers accepted, which is going to be negotiations. So here we're doing our negotiating and essentially getting contracts signed. All right. So that's kind of the next piece. And with the negotiation, so we're offers, we're focused a lot on your scripts and your communication. This is where you guys need to study all the guides I've given you, including like not just the scripts and the ebook, the Overcoming Objections ebook, but the obstacles and various objections that you're going to get. Okay, so that's there. Then after that, right, if we go down here a little bit, we're going to talk about renegotiating. And this is a big one. Oh, it's hard to type on here or write on here. Okay, so we'll call that 7. So with renegotiations, this is something I've caught flack for. This is things where if you look in a lot of forums, people really hate if you go back and let's say renegotiate a price. This is where people are like, man, if you didn't get the price right, you are a bad person. You're a bad wholesaler. It's disingenuous. It's unethical. And it's nothing can be further from the truth. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand, especially when you're virtual wholesaling, which is what I primarily teach, is that I'm going to translate the contract. So you remember traditional wholesaling really quickly. All right. You find the prospect, you talk to them. And back in the day, you'd go meet with them. You would walk the house, see the property, take your pictures. You have your little clipboard. You make them, you sign a contract. And then now your buyers have to see it. So that kind of raises, not that it can't be done, but it raises a red flag in a seller's mind. They're like, why are you sending these people in my house if you already saw it? It's kind of like, what? Then let's say the buyer says, hey man, I really want the property, but you're a little too high. And you go back and you say, hey, I really want to do the deal, but yeah, I need $10,000 price reduction. Like, you saw the property. You guys saw the property. Why are you asking me for more? I thought we had a deal, right? Sour taste in the seller's mouth. So now when we're virtual wholesaling, this is what our contract says. You talk to them on the phone, you're going to get all the information from them that you need to do the deal, right? So you're going to say, okay, tell me about the property. Tell me about the repairs. Tell me about any updates, any renovations you've done. Okay, how much you asking? You go through all the scripts that we've been working on. And then you say, okay, well, listen, and it's not what you say verbatim, but the translation is based on what, and then that's when you ask them, hey, can you send me some pictures? And again, we're dealing with motivated sellers. So if these guys are truly motivated, right, then they'll be more than willing to give you pictures, send you a video. You use that information. That's where you're going to use your marketing material to send to your buyers when you advertise this property, when you send to your buyers list, put on Facebook, things like that. So now you say to them, okay, based on what you have told me, I'm comfortable making an offer at 100 grand. All right. And sellers always underestimate repair costs. So then you say, okay, so I'm going to send you this contract, right? And then you have your inspection period. Now, what the inspection says, translated, not verbatim, it says, and how you use it is, look, I'm comfortable making you an offer of 100,000 based on what you told me. However, and you make it very nonchalant, I'm going to have, my partner, someone from my team, someone just come and do a quick walkthrough, make it no big deal, very nonchalant, just to confirm everything you said is correct and that we don't find any other issues. Sound good? Very, very good. So now when you take their information, send to the buyer, set up a showing, the buyer goes, and then the buyer is expected. They know someone's coming. It's not a red flag. It's not weird. They're expecting that. Buyer comes, buyer looks at it. Then the buyer comes back to you and say, Mike, too high. I like the property too high. And then you say, why? What's wrong? Sometimes they have an inspection report for you. Sometimes they'll just tell you, then you can regurgitate that information and bring it back to the seller. Hey, we still want to do the deal. We can get you out of this property in like a week. And, but we found XYZ. And based on that, I still want to do the deal, but we have to come down 10 grand. Now it's kind of expected, right? So essentially what that inspection period was saying is, listen, you and I mutually agree on a purchase price of 100,000, knowing that I haven't seen the property yet. I'm going to send someone to see it. And if it doesn't meet those standards, I have the right to cancel. I have the right to renegotiate. Do you agree? And when they sign, they are agreeing to that. So that's perfectly fine for you to go back and do the renegotiations. A lot more, and we're going to get more into that, but that's kind of a quick do our renegotiations. That doesn't happen on every deal. It doesn't need to happen on every deal, but again, that is a part of the process. And then after that, we obviously have our marketing, our sales, closing. And the thing is, people think a lot of times that you get the price right, you get the buyer, and then you send the title company, do the deal. A lot of people don't realize there is a lot of stuff that happens in between getting your deal signed and getting closed. And every deal is going to present unique challenges, which is why I need you guys to come here and say, hey, I tried X. I tried what you said. I said what you said. And the seller responded Y, and I didn't know what to say. In those situations, your default answer should be, by the way, hey, that sounds okay. I just got to run it by my partner, and I'll get back to you. And for my group coaching guys, you guys put that in the Facebook group. I check that stuff pretty much daily, right? So you'll get a response on that. My one-on-one guys, you have my phone number, man, my direct phone number. Call me, text me, let me know, and I'll walk you through it. And, for my one-on-one guys, if I got to get on the phone, we do a 3-way call. We do that, right? So that's kind of how that works and why that feedback is so important. But guys, I mean, we talked Oscar's deal. The buyer sent the earnest money to the wrong title company on purpose. He was more comfortable. We had to play it off as an error, and they wanted to cancel the contract. And then we had the HOA that was a pain in the ass, and we couldn't get in touch with those guys. And then, you have deals where you have permit issues, you have liens, you have probate scenarios. Right now, I got a deal where they're court approval, they have to get that redone. Someone passed away, that's extending my deal. You have multiple parties getting involved. There's so many things that can happen, and that's where it gets specific. So kudos to you guys for being here, but that's going to come a little bit later. But what I did want to get back to is that, just to let you guys know, this is like the beginning, right? And I'm going a little bit out of order, right? In the sense that this month, we've been focused a lot here on the making of the offers, right? And we've talked a lot about prospecting, but now we're going to go back to prospecting next month, and that's going to be the majority of what we do. And the reason I've structured it this way is because if you guys are making offers, that's also the best way for you to get feedback. There's going to be situations that you never saw before. And hey, don't be worried about getting stumped or not knowing what to say or whatever. That stuff happens, but that gives you the feedback. So that way, the next time you get hit with that question or that scenario, that situation, you know what to do. I've learned so much of this business the hard way, and a big benefit of you guys being here and the value that I provide to you is that you don't have to learn the hard way. I put out a video on YouTube the other day, how I lost $10,000 doing a deal. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch that video. But you don't have to lose $10,000 to learn it, right? So in the event that you guys are making offers, I wanted to go with that first. So that way you can start getting feedback. You can probably get some deals that way. And then the prospecting, and I wanted to make sure that when you get hit with any objections or anything like that, you know what to say, you know what to do in the event that happens. And so next month, we're going to circle back to prospecting, to now that you kind of have some feedback coming your way and you know what you're doing. Now, we can start upping the volume, because that's the biggest piece, man. You need that coming in and coming in and coming in. All right. So we will come back to that. But now the questions I have for you guys, and I would like 100% participation. 2 questions. So please type in the chat. The first one is, where are you on this scale right now? So those numbers on top, right? Where are you in your process? Some of you guys are just getting started with me. You're in the planning phase. Some of you guys are currently making offers. Some of you guys are negotiating. So please drop the number in the chat. This data is going to be helpful. It's also going to help me to like I said, I have our outline of our curriculum that we're going through, but it's tailored to you guys, right? So if we have to change stuff or take a break or move to other things, I need to know this information. So everyone, please, 100% participation. Take a moment, look at this crude drawing here, and let me know where you are in this process. Okay, so just take just a second. Try to pick one, if you're in between, whatever, throw it in there. And then question number 2 that I have for you is, where are you struggling the most? Or phrase it a little bit differently, what are you the most nervous about? What are you not sure about? What's not clear to you? Where do we need to go a couple of layers deeper? So again, 100% participation. I'll give you guys a second. Please do that really quickly, and then we'll take a look at some questions. All right, let me bring up my chat here. I just lost it. Okay. All right, so I got some 1s, 4 and 5s, 5 and 6. Learning ReFacts. Yeah, we're gonna do some training with just ReFacts. For those of you guys who are not in there, a lot of these systems are very similar. So even though the interface might look slightly differently, you'll have a lot of the same criteria. And I'll also show you how to use some different systems. But we will do full-on training in ReFacts, and that's everything on market, off market. Again, I love that system because, guys, I don't have a dog in the fight, man. I picked that that software. I've used a lot of software, FreedomSoft, Realeflow. I use a couple different supplemental things now, but the reason I chose that, just so you guys know, is that I was working with some guys a couple years back from the Miami-Dade Real Estate Investing Association. These guys have been flipping houses since, I don't know, probably 70s or something like that. And they basically had this system custom made. And, the engineer that would go back, this is great. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Data's, I could talk about it, right? Updated, fresh data. They mine a lot of it personally, a lot of good stuff in there. But the thing I like is that everything's in one place, right? So a lot of times when you're putting together, your CRM with Mojo Dialer, with skip tracing here, that's how things fall through the cracks. And as you guys know, a lot of your deals, majority, 80% come through follow-up. Sometimes it comes in 2 weeks, sometimes it comes in 6 months. And so it's helpful when everything's in there. Hey, I can see I made this call. I see we talked about this. I sent this offer. All of it's there for you. So that's why I do recommend that program. But we'll do demo work in there, but I'll be able to show you, even if you're not in ReFacts, the same process. We'll do that live. Okay. I think everyone's answered here. Cool. If you haven't, make sure you do. All right. So now let's jump into some of this Q&A stuff. Let me scroll up a bit. All right. So let's start with this one, Josh. So I'm going to focus more on cold calls again. Okay. Know how to pull a list, and big issue is good skip tracing. I feel confused whether I want to use ReFacts, go cheaper route to use something else. Definitely not true people search. Okay. What's a good phone dialer? How do I use it? A little bit overwhelmed. If I'm going to use a CRM, I don't even know what CRMs are best for. I'm also confused whether I need DocuSign or not. These are things that are a little bit overwhelming. Okay. So you are, good questions, right? A little bit of overthinking, right? So a lot of times you have a process, right? And you have step 1, step 10. And right now you're worried, what happens when I get to step 10? Man, you got to worry about step 2 right now. So that's what you really need to do. So in terms of recommendations, that goes back to knowing what your budget is. So that would be the first question I have for you. What is your budget? And that will determine what I recommend. And then also your market, because ReFacts is a tool that's not available in every state. So that would be a part of it. But I also would encourage you, I don't want you like going broke to do this stuff, right? But in some cases, you want to stretch yourself. So the purpose of this business is not to be frugal, right? We want to get in here to make some money, but there are seasons for everything. So in the beginning, if you could cut that eating out twice a week, if you could cut your Uber Eats, if you can cut Netflix and Amazon Prime and PlayStation Plus and all these little expenses, that's why I have you guys in that exercise. Go through step by step, credit cards, bank statements, everything. Cut your spending, because the average person, if you're looking at a CRM that costs $200 a month, most people can come up with that and get creative, man. Go to Craigslist, sell some shit, right? Have a garage sale, whatever it is, pick up some extra hours, do some odd jobs. When I started, man, I was doing gigs on Craigslist. I had to degree from a top 5 university, and I was going into department stores at 3 in the morning to mop floors. Okay, so you can come up with 200. I've had students in the past where I recommended a program and they say, well, that program's 200 a month. My program's 100. I'm going to go 100. I say, okay, you could do that if that's where you're at, but let me show you some benefits here. No, I want to save $100 a month. Fast forward a month or 2 months later, I have 2 students start at the same time. The guy is telling me, hey, I saved $100 a month, never did a deal. Another student made 15,000. Oh, but I saved 100, right? So that's kind of a part of it. In terms of recommendations, these are good questions that again, post them in the Facebook group, but I would need data for that, right? So let me know what your budget is, let me know what your market is, and then I can help you from there, right? So again, my things are Realfax. In some ways a little bit pricier, but it does a lot more, right? So our other systems, they look cheaper, but then you have to put them together with other systems, and it adds up to be even more, okay? As far as good skip tracing, I have in the program, I can post the link, but there is a grid and also a video that shows you the cost, the connection rate, the percentages of all the skip tracing systems, right, that you have available to you. So you can use that. What else? A good phone dialer. So Realfax does have a dialer system included in it. It's got included skip tracing as part of your monthly fee. So it's actually a lot more economical. Now, honestly, Realfax is not the best dialer, right? And a lot of people, when they're choosing systems, I gotta have the best, the best, the best. Unless it's a huge leap, you don't always need the best. You need consistency. A lot of people, hey, they start with a system. Oh, but I watched the webinar and this system has this extra, bells and whistles, and now I'm going to switch and switch. And it's the overthinking and the constant switching why you're not seeing results. Same thing with people who go diet, right? Oh, I did keto a week. I still have a gut. Now I'm going to do this diet, and they do Atkins, and then it's constantly switching. And the lack of consistency is why they don't get results, right? Better if you're saying, okay, instead of doing, I'm going to do high intensity interval training, and then I don't see results. Now I'm going to do a 5x5 program. Now that didn't work. I'm going to do German volume loading, whatever, right? You'd be better off saying, okay, based on my body type, my goals, I'm going to pick this training program. I'm going to do it for 8 weeks, no matter what, temporarily detach from the results, again, temporarily, and become more process oriented. And then maybe after 8 weeks, I'll reassess. But back to my point, Realfax admittedly is not the best dialer system, but I do use it personally because everything's in one place. And then that's where things don't slip through the cracks. So it's not a triple line dialer. It doesn't look as pretty, but it works. And that's what I would recommend for you, Josh, as a beginner. My VAs, they are a Mojo dialer. I like Mojo dialer in that sense because, one, they were already familiar with it. So it's not beneficial for me to try to retrain someone on a different system. Mojo dialer also has the triple line dialer, which basically means 3 lines. It dials 3 numbers at once. Whoever picks up first, the other 2 drop. If you get into a situation where, let's say, one person picks up, next person picks up, you can actually, it's a little sneaky, but you record a pre-recorded message and it says, hello, sorry, I can't hear you right now. I'll call you right back. Second person gets that message, and then you connect to the first one. That's kind of nice. And then for me, it has a call recording. So when I'm going over my VAs, I can listen and you can sort by the length of the call. And then, so you're not listening to calls that are like 5 seconds long. You see 20 minutes, you go and you listen. Then when you have, remember, a big part of working with VAs is not just telling them what to do and letting them roll with it. You have to become and cultivate the skill set of being a good manager, right? And so with that and providing your metrics, your standards, your accountability, their goals, and then with that, you have to coach them. So you listen on the call, then you call them back and you say, okay, we're going to listen to your calls. You listen to it together. Okay, when the seller says this, you did okay. This is what you did well. But next time, you need to also say this, right? And so Mojo Dialer is my recommendation in that sense. But it again depends on where you are. As far as DocuSign, DocuSign is really, really helpful. It's a good tool to have. It makes things easier, for people to obviously sign them, right? A lot more convenient. And the other thing I like is that you always, as I teach in the program, you always want to control the paperwork. Sometimes you have people who can be sneaky if you let them do it. They'll add terms or they'll, cross out terms. You look at a lot of contracts, you can miss things. The other thing that's nice is with DocuSign, you send over a document, they can't edit it, and then sometimes it's not worth people's time. Let's say they want 7-day inspection, you put 10. They don't want to go back and forth haggling, trying to redo the contract. They'll just sign it. And then you always know what's in there. So again, if it's within your budget, yes, it's definitely recommended. But also as a beginner, until you start having a lot of contracts come in, it's not really necessary. Most people, if you send a contract over, which you can do in Refax automatically, your signature's in there, everything's signed. You can even do bulk offer making where it fills out the contracts for you. Most people can either print it, scan it back, but most people can sign online, like on their own. Like even on my Mac, the program preview, you can sign on your trackpad. So it's not a big deal. So it is something that is beneficial, but as a beginner, it's not necessarily necessary. You're going to be paying for it and not using it so much in bulk, especially if you're already on Refax. So again, this goes back to the personalization as to what you really need, but that's not a concern that I would have right now. The concern is that you need to start making those calls and you need to start making those offers. That's the very first thing that you really need to be focused on right now. Okay, so next, working on journaling, good stuff, focusing, calls, okay, good. I don't think that's optimistic. That seems like a good thing, but the thing you want to do is this is why tracking is so important, right? In when you're lifting weights, they have this thing, progressive, is it progressive overload, periodization, something like that. But essentially, you don't, if you're first starting, right, you don't just go and try to do your max, right? You might even start off a little bit lighter, make sure you get your form right, everything's good. And then, so let's say, like for me, when I used to work out more seriously in college, there's a time where I had my max bench press. And then I took off some time and I was like, okay, I know I'm going to be a little weaker, but I didn't shoot for the top. I just started back a little bit. And then every time I went to gym, I try and put on 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 5 pounds. And you kind of establish a baseline to see where you are right now. And then from there, make it a competition with yourself, man. Try to beat it. So if you're doing 25 calls a day, you've allocated that time, and that time is sacred, right? It's untouchable. No one could call you. Your phone's on do not disturb. If you live with people, you put the sign on the door and no one touches that time. You see, what can you really do, right? You have an idea, but then when you start tracking it, that's going to show you not just idealistically, but what you can actually do. And then as you get better at talking to people and you're not going off on crazy tangents, or, hey, this is just not a deal, you can help them make a recommendation, but then, you're out. Then every day you go, you try to beat your efficiency. Can I do one more call, one more call, one more rep, one more rep. And then, times you say, okay, can I make my time more efficient? Instead of taking an hour lunch break, maybe I can take 45-minute lunch break and then I can get in a couple more calls. Okay. So that's kind of how you're gonna roll with that. How do you track the calls if people don't answer? Not sure if you exhaust the list or not. How do you track this? So again, to record your calls, you can use if you're using Mojo Dialer, they have that automatically included. I do recommend recording your calls because it's not just about recording it, but actually you have to go back and review, listen to yourself, listen to where did I mess up? Hey, when this person said this, I should have said this. Take notes for yourself. And that way you can kind of audit yourself and audit what you're doing, right? But as far as tracking your calls, depending on your CRM will do that for you. What I'm more interested in is if you look on the action plan, there's an overview. So there's one section where you're going to track your basically your connections, right? So the conversations you have, that's what's most important. And then in terms of what calls that I already dialed that didn't pick up, do I know if there's a good number or not? There is, if you're using the action plan exclusively, there's a section in there for that. It doesn't count towards in terms of like how many calls you made. Like I made 1,000 calls, like $1,000 and no one picked up. That's not really relevant. But it is important to know, like if you're working with a list, to know that you dial that list, right? So there is a place for you to track that information, but also if you're using a CRM, your CRM will give you that data, and you'll be able to mark bad numbers and things like that within the system. Okay, learning Realflow, we talked about that. We'll be going over that. A lot of offers I sent properties are overpriced. And send 50, 60, 70 under listing price, I don't get a response. Yeah, a lot of properties are overpriced. But one, you have to realize, again, we're not in the business of convincing people, right? So a lot of these people overpriced. They may just not be knowledgeable. They may be I don't know, over ambitious or whatever, but in all likelihood, they're probably not very motivated. So in a lot of those cases, not always, if it's in bad conditions, still definitely go for it. But a lot of cases, it'll just save you, hey, not this one, not this one. Just kind of keep it moving. 50, 60, 70 under list price. Yeah, that's very true. A lot of times you won't get a response. So that's where you have to do what's making kind of like common sense offers, where you're looking at other things that don't fit into the formula. They don't fit into max allowable off formula. So again, if a property is on market, let's say if we're looking at on market properties, it's on market 5 days, you have to be more competitive with your offer and bring it up, right? Versus something's on market, 150 days. Now I know I can be a lot more competitive with my offer. The other thing that you can do when you see things like that, instead of just sending out an offer at 70, 100K under listing price, in that case, instead of doing the bulk offer method, what I would do is I would place a phone call, reach out. Hey, what's going on with this? What's the story with this? What's the seller really looking for? Tell them what you're doing. Hey, I'm an investor. I need to see X return. You got to understand I'm paying cash. I'll take it as is. I got to do the repairs, and you work through those numbers. And I have to account for insurance and closing costs and holding costs, and I still want to make a profit, right? I'm not being greedy or anything, but understand I'm not living here. So do you think we're in a place where the seller and I can find something mutually agreeable? What's their situation? What's going on? You get that intel from the realtor. Now, obviously, anytime you want something from someone, right, you have to make it in their best interest. So that's where you put your USP out, your unique selling proposition. Hey, I'm an investor. I buy multiple properties. I'd love to work with you. I'm not working with a realtor. I'll pay you 100%. I'll take it as is. I'm real easy to work with, et cetera, et cetera. I'll close fast. I'll give you a decision quickly after we do the inspection, blah, blah, blah. Where can we get on this? And they'll let you know. And then you can tell them, listen, it looks a little bit high to me. I got to go back and run numbers with my partner, but I'm seeing, then you list off the lowest comps, and then you say, well, I can't really make sense of this. Do you have some higher comps you can show me? And if they do, then you can justify higher price, and you can use that to show to your buyers to then justify that higher price. And in doing so, you're also deferring to their expertise, which may or may not really exist. But again, in that case, you're kind of ego stroking them. So that's another human component that we talk about that makes them more willing to want to work with you. And so the point there is, one, to see if there is a deal to be made before you just send a blind offer at 70K below asking. And the other part of that is really establishing a relationship where they can see, okay, you're serious. And even if that property that you're calling about doesn't work, you can give them your criteria, your buy box, essentially say, okay, well, this one, because of XYZ reasons, which the sub communication shows that you are knowledgeable, that you know what you're doing, right? That doesn't work for me, but this is my criteria. And in that case, that's how you turn these realtors into bird dogs, and you can get other properties sent to you. They'll send you pocket listings, they'll send you all kinds of stuff. So that is, let's see, I'm sorry, I'm reading at the same time. So that's kind of how you would address that, right? So if you're way off, place that call first. And even if you don't get it for that particular deal, you can form a relationship and get them to send you some other stuff. That's important too, even off market, guys. I remember, I think it was one of the first deals that Donovan did. He sent me a cool testimony. He was like, bro, I was talking to this guy, and he wasn't really willing to sell. He's like, I was about to hang up, but I remember we had like a call the day before, and I told him, always ask, hey, do you know anybody else looking to sell? You can offer a referral fee. And he asked the question. He was like, hey, while I have you here, do you know anyone else who's interested in selling property, or do you have any other properties you're interested in selling? Guys, like, matter of fact, I do. It's like he's onto or something. And that's how he got that deal done. It happens all the time. So you guys have to remember, and this is why practicing those scripts is so important. Where is the grid? If you're talking about the skip tracing one, I don't know the URL off the top of my head, but it's in the I'm not sure exactly which section it is, so I'll check on it. I'll post in the Facebook group. So all I need is RealFax, Mojo Dollar, not DocuSign. If you're doing this by yourself, you don't need Mojo Dollar right now. I would not get that. I would just use RealFax's Dollar. And correct, you don't need DocuSign at the moment. Yeah, and listen, when people say, hey, my cold calling skills are not that good, bro, it's like, if you never played basketball before, but you watched a lot of basketball, your first time on the court, you're not going to be nice. Like, that's fine. That's a big part of the first part of this is really like accepting that, right? And you learn as you go, you grow, you get better by doing it. Okay. People ask me, hey, man, how do I build confidence on the phone? And yes, there are little hacks and tips and tricks and mental exercises, a little bit of NLP that'll get you feeling better. It'll get you a little bit more confident. But ultimately, confidence comes from competence. It comes from doing it, it comes from putting in the reps. Again, strength training, man. The more, Arnold, put in the reps. The more reps you do, the better you get at it. It happens naturally. And we talked a lot about that and some of the rules, like um sorry, I got distracted with Oscar's comment. Like, for example, when you're doing calls, like one of my rules is like minimize time in between calls. Don't be making a call and then go getting a snack and then coming back to make the calls. That's another benefit of the dial. You just go. Minimize the time in between calls. That'll help you out a lot. But ultimately, yeah, it's all about just doing it. If you're on a budget, just getting started, I would just get one thing at a time using Realflow. Yeah, agreed with that. IQ dialer, that's good stuff. What should I look for in the action plan? Clarify that for me. I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you're looking for where, that is in Wholesale Mike University. After the core curriculum is action plan. And am I a baller? I am definitely not. I'm actually bad at pretty much all sports except for combat sports, which I've been doing for a while. So I'm decent there. Man, I don't even know last time I played some ball. But if you get a group together, I'll go. Everything, any cardio I can get is good. All right, guys, very good questions, man. I really appreciate that. This is good stuff for tonight. Again, these questions should be daily. Every day you should have a question, especially if you're not doing deals. And again, guys, the questions don't need to be, technical. So much of what I teach, it's not about, and it's my personal philosophy. Everyone's different, but it's not about my personal life is here, my business life is here. I want to integrate those, right? So some of you guys, hey, I'm having trouble being disciplined. Hey, I'm fearful of calling. Hey, I don't know how to schedule. Hey, I have problems with discipline. Hey, I've got mental blocks, or I don't know what to say, whatever it is. We can talk about those things. Those are important things to talk about. A lot of the struggles you have will be subconscious struggles. And if you're not sure, talk to me. I guarantee you, I've been through 90 to 99% of these things. And if I haven't been through it personally, I've coached a student who has. So definitely put those all in our Facebook group, in our mastermind group. In addition, you can bring obviously technical things. You want specific properties. Hey, man, I'm looking at like Tyree had posted some stuff. Hey, this property, what do you think? Right. And so, and this is what I do a lot of my one-on-one guys. Oscar knows in the beginning, I'm going to run the comps for you. I'm going to do the analysis. I'm going to tell you this is how you should run it. And then after I do that a few times, it's like, hey, teach a guy, fish for a guy, feed him for a day, teach him to fish, feed him for life. After that, I'm going to say, okay, what do you think? Why do you think that? What comps did you use? And when you show me, when I can see your thought process, well, Mike, I use this. I'll say, oh, well, that's not in the same subdivision. So even though it's the same square footage, same year built, that's why the comps are coming off wrong. Here's what you should look at instead. Hey, there were no good comps here. Okay, well, hey, let's do a little bit of research. I'll show you some other sites, show you some free sites, show you the property, how to go through the property appraiser site and look at some of the stuff in the same subdivision and whatnot. So I have to kind of get in your head to see where you're messing up. Right. So those are the kind of things you can put in there. Just drop a property address, whatever. You don't have to give me even a long explanation. You're welcome to. But start posting that stuff, guys. It's going to make a big difference. Does Realfax work with other dialers? No. There's importing that you can do and put properties into the system, but you'll have to add your notes and stuff like that manually. There isn't like an integration. If you have trouble with discipline, highly recommend a book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. That is probably in my top 3 books of all time. It's a fantastic book. And I also listened to the sequel to that book, which was really good. I preferred the first one. I have the first one in both audio and print version. The second one I got just the audio, but the second one is cool because Goggins comes in and gives like interludes and gives feedback and additional like add-ons to the story, and it's cool to hear it in his voice. But those are absolutely excellent books. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So we're coming up at the end of this. Like I said, we're gonna be two things. Like in the end of this month, we're gonna do a lot more role play, right? I'm gonna give you guys realistic situations and teach you. That's the secret sauce, guys, or one of the ingredients to your secret sauce, I should say. But really knowing how to talk through a lot of these issues, and when people push back, like the call we had, I think it was last week or a week before that, when I talked to you guys about how I did a deal in 1 week, literally, and this was not from follow up. I mean, cold offer, 1 week, got the contract, got the buyer. And when I first, it was an on market deal. When I first got it, man, the guy was hating on me. I could just hear it in his tone. He was annoyed with me. I went through the steps. It's a process. Okay, what are the concerns? What are the issues? And each one he named. Is that it? Is that it? Got all the objections and then handle them one by one. Check, check, check. This is a guy I could tell was like, you're probably a wholesaler. I don't like you, blah, blah, blah. By the end of that call, you would think he's my best friend. Got the deal done. Sent me other properties, right? Pocket listings. Got one that's not on the market. And it was all because of what I said to him. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch that video. But that's just one example. I'm doing this every day, and that's some of the stuff you have to learn to do. It's much more than just putting numbers on a contract and really knowing how to kind of finesse the process, kind of always keep pushing forward and trying your best to take every contract as far as you can. That's what I talk about a lot of the renegotiations, whether it's contingencies or addendums or extensions or whatever you need, how to justify it, right? And this, again, is best in a real-time situation. So the best way for me to teach is when you guys come up against that and you don't know what to do, or you maybe didn't respond appropriately, and you bring it to me. And once I show you that, then you know, okay, next time this happens, because it'll happen again, you know how to deal with it. And it's much better, I can give you my examples and we talk about that, but it's much better when you bring me that feedback from your deals, from your actions and your experiences. It's much, much better. So make sure that, good questions today, but make sure that you are continually asking those questions, right? Tony Robbins may be the greatest business mind of all time, right? Over 100 businesses, probably like $1 billion network. He says the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life, quality of your business, et cetera, right? So I really want you guys to keep doing that. Again, you can record your calls. You can place them in the Facebook group. Some Facebook groups, right, they're very strict on what you can post and can't post. Our group is very intimate. I don't put any, no one's abused it. I haven't put any restrictions there. If you want to record yourself on a call, Mike, let me get some feedback. Put it in there, man. And I will break that thing down for you. What else? We do lives in there, so that's cool. Something like that. Let me see. Sure. I will definitely use Facebook Messenger on my calls. Can I post the audio, or is that illegal? Good question. Depending on the state, right? So some states have laws, you'd have to look it up, where you have to have 2-party consent. Some state is just a 1-party consent. So that's it. I'll say this, I'm not going to tell on anybody, right? So I record a lot of shit. I don't know if I ever really say that here, but I record stuff and don't put it out there. So it's kind of a safe space, so to speak. And to me, again, I'm not telling you what to do. A lot of it comes down to your own risk assessment, but a lot of times things like that, I look at it like before the NFL game comes on, you have this thing like this broadcast protected by the FBI. And if you record this game, you could be fined up to $200,000 and 5 years in prison. I never knew anyone who got in trouble for recording a football game. So that's kind of how I look at it. Kind of take that information, what you will. RealFacts doesn't have recording. No, it doesn't. But bro, you could find any open source software to do that. I think most, I haven't used a PC in over a decade, so I'm sure they come with something like that on a Mac. You just go to QuickTime and put records. What do you call it? Record audio, right? If you have ScreenFlow, Camtasia, you could do that. And there are tons of free. Just go to Google and type in free recording software. And then you could just record the same way I'm recording a Zoom call. You record everything on your screen. You can record everything that goes into your mic and comes out your headphones. So it's pretty easy. Just do a Google search. Okay, cool. Good stuff, guys. All right. So yeah, moving forward, when we come into next week, we're going to be doing a lot of role play, right? And so Josh, I might need you here for that, but also I need some more participation from other folks here. It's going to be realistic, right? That's what you guys need. Remember, story I told you when I was at one of Grant Cardone's trainings, and he had two of his best salespeople come up. These guys are making high six figures a year. And he said to them, hey, man, we role play in the office every morning. If you didn't role play, how long would it take you to get rusty? I thought they were going to say weeks, months. These guys are like a couple hours, and these are pros. And at that point, I was like, got to do this. You have to do this. You want to make it realistic. You want to give the pushback. You want to ask the tough questions. How'd you get my information? You make me an offer first. You guys got to work on it. You got to get good at it. You got to get good at talking to people, building rapport, and a lot of the sub communication that I talk about, very, very important. That's what's going to get you deals. So we're going to be working a lot on that, right? And then once I'm kind of confident that you guys are a little bit better with the making offers and negotiations, and you kind of have a real good handle on that, then we're going to come back around to prospecting, which now the volume you have for a lot of you guys is pretty low. And now we're like, okay, now we want to open up the floodgates and start getting your pipeline. And that's when we're going to look at all different types of marketing. We're going to look at the consistency. We're going to look at lists. We're going to be building lists together. And we're going to do all that to make sure that you have fresh leads coming to you every single day, right? We're going to work on prospecting. And then from there, you'll have the rest of the stuff kind of, you already understand that. And then it's more a question of optimizing it and getting a lot better at it. And then the next piece is, for some of you guys, you haven't done your first deal yet. So when you get that first deal, not being a dumbass and going and buying like some, I don't know, we call these things name brand stuff, right? Obviously, I'm not a fan of, but taking that revenue, that profit, and intelligently putting it back into your system. Some of you guys are watching videos and other advice, I'm not shitting on other people. They're not wrong, but you're not there yet, right? So you might go into a space, oh, now I can do SEO and get on the first page of Google, and you're competing with guys who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on that advertising. It's just going to eat up your budget, right? It doesn't make sense. That's not appropriate for you there. So it's a matter of not just, putting your money back to your business, but putting it in a specific, like, sequential order that makes sense, right? So that's going to be the next step after that. But that's kind of where we're going with this. So again, you don't have to wait till weekly calls to ask questions, obviously, right? Put them in the Facebook group. We'll go through that stuff throughout the week. We'll jump on some live stuff during the week. If you guys watch on a replay, if you're not here because of a time conflict, let me know. We'll add some sessions, or we'll swap out some sessions. Totally cool. I just want to encourage you guys to show up live, because that makes a really, really big difference. So today, again, kind of an overview day. We'll get more into the specifics, and like I said, we'll be building, lists and all that good stuff, best list, stuff like that, and going through a lot of these specifics. So last call for questions. And again, thank you guys for being here, especially guys showing up live on a Friday night. Always appreciated. Everyone have a productive week. Ask your questions throughout. And I will talk to you guys later in the week and see you on our next call. All right. Have a good night, guys. I'm head out.